Yeah, I mean, just like what's really difficult in building a brand and founding a brand and finding authenticity in that brand is that it's so predicated on finding yourself, right? So it is a very spiritual process because it's hard for somebody who hasn't lived throughout a ton of lived experiences, or maybe has been in school for a long time, right, and is now starting to work and realizing that work's not for them, to then be caught up in this like existential crisis of like, who am I, what do I stand for, what do I care about, and then start a brand in that process, because a lot of times that is where entrepreneurship comes from. It comes from this like innate spiritual struggle of realizing that like you don't feel fulfilled, or you're not self-actualized or purposeful in that moment. So it's just really challenging to start brand in that time, because that also means that you may not really understand yourself, right? And so self-awareness, I think, really is something that comes over time, and it's different for everybody and everyone's journey. And it's really hard to build a brand without that, because at the end of the day, if you don't really fully understand yourself, I mean, how are you going to create a brand that you can commit to representing and expressing for what could be a significant portion of your life?
Man, I'm having so much fun. This is a $1.6 trillion industry. I'm talking about the food and beverage space. If you're not having fun, you're in the wrong place. Yes, it's hard work, but my gosh, the companies, the brands, the flavors, the experiences, the missions, it's fantastic. But some of the brands are different, better, and special. They're the ones who are able to really compete and vie for customer loyalty. Look, I know you want to make your brand different, better, and special. I know you yourself want to be different, better, and special. That's my mission. That's why you're here. Join me on this journey as I interview CEOs and founders from all the different companies within the food and beverage industry, so we can discover what they're doing, so we can take that information back, digest it, and become better ourselves, and to help our companies take on different strategies, pick the right technology, pick the right partners, and of course, you got to have great tasting food. You got to have great tasting beverages. Packaged goods. If it doesn't taste good, you're lost. I'm sorry. You're going to lose millions. If you're new here, take the 5-episode challenge. Go back, pick out some brands, some CEOs, some topics. If you love the content, subscribe. You're going to find it on every podcast platform once or twice a week. But I also publish them on LinkedIn, because that's where we kind of hang out. So when you see it on LinkedIn, stop by, make a comment, share it back into your food and beverage network. I would appreciate it. The brands would appreciate it. To all my loyal listeners, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being with me on this journey. Thanks for coming along on this mission for the past 2 years. If you are considering a strategic job change, message me. Let's have a confidential conversation. If your brand is growing and you need to attract experts, you also need to contact me, because I have created a different, better, and special recruiting system. I promise you, no other search firm in America is doing that. Who am I? I'm Tony Moore. I'm an expert food and beverage headhunter, semi-professional podcaster, and I'm here each and every week. Stay tuned for this week's episode. Welcome to Winning at Work, everybody. There is just so much going on in the food and beverage space. I have to say, I do notice there's a lot of buzz on LinkedIn for certain products and for certain people. And of course, it catches my eye. And there's one brand that really stood out to me. I just have to be honest, the packaging, the logo, it was just so crisp, so clear. It just invoked this kind of emotional response in me. And I wanted to look into this brand a little bit more. Then I remembered where I saw it. I had seen some excerpts from Shark Tank. I've since gone back and rewatched the entire episode, and I have since had the opportunity to talk with Kun Yang. He's the co-founder and CEO of Prickly Cactus Water. Kun, I am so excited to have you on. Again, I just keep seeing this buzz about you guys out there, and what an exciting product and an exciting time from you, right? You're going from pharmacy to functional.
Yeah, with a PH, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Tony. Thanks so much for having me, and it's definitely a pretty exciting time. It's a very exciting journey for all of us, and we're just really trying to enjoy every moment of it, all the challenges, the ups and downs with it.
Ups and downs, and you've got like a young family. You've just left the farmer world. It's just like you're just throwing everything in all at once. I love that. I love the American spirit. Well, so look, the first question I think that comes to me is, as we get into your origin story around the product, I just have to understand, what is it about the cactus? Why is this so important? There are so many different products out there that you could have, gone for. Why cactus?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's probably the first question we always get, and I'm sure we'll speak more about this later, but to us, the cactus is really the ultimate symbol of resilience. It's been around for over 9,000 years. It's nutritious, delicious. It's sustainable. It's a staple in numerous cultures. That's how we discovered it, and it's done all with grace. And so for us, our mission is to inspire people to be resilient like the cactus by creating these delicious moments of happiness. And it really started because my co-founder back in 2018, when we, were living up in Boston, came home with these delicious prickly pears. And Mohammed grew up in Lebanon. His grandma would used to juice it and serve it in all these different ways. And he would fight over every last sip or every last bite of prickly pear cactus with his siblings, big family. So when he saw it at our local Star Market, it just brought back this wave of nostalgia that really came and reminded him of all his amazing childhood memories. So when he brought it back to share with us, we were just amazed by this incredible looking fruit. It was this beautiful magenta color when you juiced it. It tasted amazing. Being from healthcare, we were really, really just fascinated with all the benefits of the ingredient. We were really impressed with the sustainability components of it. And really, when we kind of explored more and more about what this brand meant to us over time, and this sort of symbolization of resilience that really kind of spoke to us, because it really allowed us to connect ourselves to it, but also made us realize that this is how we could really support others and give value to society, kind of brought all that together. So yeah, ever since then, it's just been an incredible adventure of self-growth, of learning, of being able to contribute something that we felt was really, really something that was authentic to us. And it's just the journey's just beginning. We very much feel like we're at the starting line.
What you just said there is just authentic, genuine, that you connect with the product, you connect with the brand. And I think that's a huge mistake for people who go out and just try to find a white space and develop something, and they have no ties to it. I'm sure you can do it, but the way you guys are approaching it is very different in that it actually has true, authentic, meaning and connectivity to you. So in a lot of ways, you're just a fan as well. You're a consumer, and you're literally making something that you also love. And I think what's unique about the cactus, as you say, it's resilient. And it does evoke a lot of values and just, strength. You're right. You've really hit on something there. Now, for everyone if you've not seen the Shark Tank episode, I'm going to tag it here in the show notes, so you can go down and pull this up and watch it before YouTube takes it down, because sometimes they'll take these things down. I want to hear just a little bit about your Shark Tank experience and how life has changed for you since getting that deal with Barbara, which I loved. I loved how she swooped in there at the end and knocked Mr. Wonderful out. But tell us just about that whole experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still pretty surreal kind of thinking back on it. But it was a very, very long journey. I have a 15-month-old, and this journey has been the journey of being reached out to and then airing was the equivalent of time. So it was just kind of a very, very long journey.
Wait, they reached out to you?
They reached out to us to apply after they saw a Facebook ad right when we launched in February of 2021. It was like the first week. We got this email.
That's different. Most people are pushing to them. Interesting.
It was just surreal because we were kind of like, is this real? We had no idea. We just thought it was a scam. It was just an email. We just, we responded anyways. And then
right, a Pfizer banking scam, right? Put in your credit card information and we'll get you over to Barbara.
Yeah, and then we knew it was real as soon as we got a 100-page document that was like, you have to apply and tell us everything about, your life and stuff. So at that point, we were, we were pretty excited about it, and it was just a really long process. It was a very long process, but it was a super professional process. The team was they were such an incredible team. The producers that we worked with, they became like family. So when we actually went on set to record, which was about a month and a half ago this time last year, so September of 21, it just felt like we had been working with these people that had nothing but your best interest at heart in a way to help you tell your story and just, again, try to really make that moment as impactful as possible. So it was a really cool experience. The Sharks were all just incredibly friendly and really professional. They did a good job of desensitizing you, so it wasn't like you just walked on set and that was everything. They just had a really professional staff, and the experience was really good. I think for us, it wasn't one where we blacked out. I do remember a lot of the conversation and what we.
Oh my God! It's funny that you say that. I hear that people black out. People black out. They can't. They can't remember a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was a long time. I mean, we were in there for almost an hour, and of course, the post production gets it down to about 8 to 10 minutes. I think that they did an incredible job again of just capturing the spirit of the conversation, the spirit of the negotiation. And yeah, just really, blessed for the opportunity. I think it really has set us up for a lot of opportunities that we probably wouldn't have had. And so, I think every journey has a lot of luck to it, and ours has definitely shown itself in the form of Shark Tank. So we're definitely pretty blessed.
So, okay, so I think this is a great segue into what we really want to talk about today, and that is the importance of branding. And I think you guys are going to be great ambassadors for this conversation. That conversation came up with the Sharks. Do you want to talk at all about that? Because I don't know how much that influenced what you went through this past year, because I know you've just completed it, and this is why we want to talk about the importance of branding today. Yeah,
I mean, I think the Shark Tank experience was another data point. It was a very strong data point because, you're suddenly in a room with some of the titans of business, right? And so everything that they say is not taken with a grain of salt. It's quite the opposite. But, when we launched, in 2021, we already knew that we had to go on this journey of really finding authenticity in brand. And we can certainly talk about why that's important. But, when we had gotten to Shark Tank, we had already committed to doing that. So we'd started that process beforehand. So I think really the information, the conversations we had on Shark Tank just really helped refine and maybe even reinforce some of these thoughts and experiences we had. And really challenged us again to really rethink everything and really just make sure that what we were producing really was true to us, and ultimately true to who we were, to our personal values, so that at the end of the day, we were expressing a brand and not, again, to your point, selling a product. And I think that those two things are extremely, extremely different because, authenticity and brand, at least in our opinion, truly maximizes profitability. So it all kind of came together at the same time. And we had just started that process like about a week or two before we ended up going on Shark Tank. And it ended up being over a year's worth of time. And even now, I think the last finishing pieces, our website launching in January, will really kind of finally cement the completion of this journey for us.
Well, you just said that authenticity and brand maximizes profitability. Can you just explain what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just our belief, right? It's that, we think that most successful founders and founding teams, time and time and again, the ones that unlock an authentic brand ideal really allow them to create brands that are consistent. And consistency in what meaning? Consistency in the mission that they, agree to pursue, the products that they produce, the content that they create, and the customer experiences that they actually deliver on. And why that's important is because all of that feeds into building a stronger community around the brand of like-minded individuals. And that's not just your customers, right? That's also the investors that you attract, the partners that you end up working with, and most importantly, probably the employees that are ultimately, working towards delivering upon that promise of brand. And that, ultimately is just humans, and humans create momentum, right? Which in our opinion, again, all this momentum maximizes profitability because it not only just drives the top line revenue, which is I think what a lot of us have focused on in the last couple of years, but it actually improves the bottom line, because we believe that the quality and the intention of work that the team is engaged on ultimately will be greater when they're bought in emotionally and spiritually to the brand and to the mission that we're trying to accomplish, and that will ultimately just give your business probably the greatest chance of success. Because you're just making every decision with higher resolution and quality, whether it's, scaling, whether it's the products that you're creating, whether it's the people that you hire, and all those things come together to, in our opinion, again, like maximize profitability.
Yeah. As you were walking through that, it really dawned on me that customer acquisition costs obviously is high in any business, but when you have real brand advocates, people who are loyal, they also feel authentically part of that brand and what you're trying to do. They stay with you, and then they go out and they bring more people in. So not only does that drive your top line, but that really helps your bottom line, because your acquisition costs for new consumers you would think be lower because of, the word of mouth spreading. But you also touched on that, investors look for this too. And I know, young brands obviously are looking for more investment. So I imagine this is helping you, on your journey as you guys are also probably pitching, and talking to other investors. They see something authentic. They know you've got your brand dialed in, so you're not going to be distracted by other, brand extensions that don't fit.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that right now, where we actually just opened up our seed round just a couple of weeks ago, and that has been probably one of the biggest drivers of interest, is just seeing the whole thing together, right from the product, the liquid that they receive, in the samples that we deliver, to just how they see the brand coming together and our 5, 6, 7 year vision of what we expect to build Prickly towards. I think all of that clarity, all the work that we put in up front to get that part right, has really come to set us up for a lot more success in these conversations than, if we had just come in with, our previous branding, our previous, ideation of what we were building, that lacked the clarity, the focus, and the vision of really what Prickly is all about. So that has absolutely been, I think, one of the key drivers of success for our current fundraising round.
Yeah, and I think that just points back to that experience on Shark Tank, really helping you focus in and get that clarity. As you said, those titans, they really saw the need for that. Who would you say is your primary consumer for the Prickly cactus water? Because I know when you're sending samples and trying to get that liquid to lips, if those investors aren't the demographic you're going for, or sometimes it's like, hey guys, you're not going to like this product, but it's not for you. What are you finding there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we have this opportunity to truly be a mainstream product, so our target market is it's generally a little bit broader than I think most. I mean, 18 and 35, we tend to see a slight, slight resonation more towards the female demographic than male. But I think that we're in this very interesting time right now where that 18 to 35 mainstream demographic represents almost 50% Gen Zs and 50% millennials. And so there's just really a lot of cultural signals I think are going to be different in the next couple of years. And we have an opportunity right now, being not just a new brand, but almost a new category in some capacities, to really come in and establish itself as something that really resonates with this younger generation. So I think that that's really one of our core target markets in the urban setting. But in the suburban setting as well, we tend to be a little bit broader, because we think that Prickly is a product for everybody. Ultimately, we're trying to create these delicious moments of happiness. And so we see kids resonate with this, parents, grandparents, everyone. And so really kind of making sure that people understand that this is a product that can be consumed every day for everyone in a more suburban market is something that, absolutely is one of our core goals. And that all comes back to just all this can be achieved by just making the cactus the most approachable thing possible. Because, I think a lot of what we've done is really kind of taken that sort of feeling of a cactus being something that you don't want to hug or touch, and turning it almost upside down and making it super approachable, fun, and associated with happiness. And I think that that's really how we're going to really go after this target market.
I think it's interesting, as you guys were discovering you had something really special. Now you're having to focus on, okay, we're launching this business. Now it's this obsession with brand, right? You knew you already had something authentic, but now it's, I guess, what the next step is, what's our mission? Why is it unique to us? Tell us a little bit about some of those early problems that you were having to solve for, when you were launching.
Well, I mean, as soon as we launched, we knew that we had a lot of work to do, right, to really figure this stuff out. Because as we mentioned, brand maximizes profitability. So getting to that starting point was going to be super important. And we knew that Prickly was about much more than just an itemized list of benefits, product characteristics, nutritional callouts. We just didn't really understand how to verbalize that in a way that, was unique to us, unique to the cactus, and really allowed us to really show consumers what we stood for beyond just giving them a healthy and delicious product. So we really tested that against our own personal values. And it was a pretty frustratingly long and existential journey of self-awareness, of spirituality, of growth. But, as we built out that whole rebrand, the packaging that you see, including the new website that's launching in January, we realized that this was all worth it, because when the first cans landed in retail about 4 months ago, we actually saw a 2x lift in retail velocities, which was this incredible objective data set that has really given us even more confidence that, we had arrived at the starting line.
Oh, that's great. So tell us a little bit about where you're selling now. Are you DTC and retail? Club? What's your distribution at this point?
Yep, we're very much focused on the DTC and retail channels. For a product like ours, we view DTC absolutely as a brand awareness discovery channel where we can really connect with others and build product awareness, build cactus awareness, education, and just really build community. And I think that that's going to be the most important focus point for us as we head into this next phase of our growth between seed and Series A, is really just to continue to reinforce the strength of that community over time. And then the retail channel is absolutely probably the most important channel for beverage, just being a place of discovery, being a place where we can win on shelf, and implement the promo strategies that we've already exercised up to this point that we know works. That's going to be the primary growth driver for us in 2023 as well.
Have you guys tried any convenience store in the Southwest? Obviously, where people see the cactus?
Yeah. So we always joke about it that we produce our product up in the Northeast, the land of the cactus, in New Hampshire specifically. Right. So we say live free or drink prickly. But our goal is absolutely to expand into the Southwest. We just didn't want to take that shot until we had gotten to the starting line, because we knew that the best product we could put out there, we just wanted that first impression, our the core market that we know probably will ultimately, to your point, have the most familiarity with the product and the cactus. We just wanted that first impression to be awesome, and we wanted it to be super authentic and super value driven for the customer. And so, up until this point has all been just testing to get there. And that is absolutely part of our growth strategy in 2023.
Yeah, there's a good philosophy there in convenience, because it's hyper local. You can get that feedback really quick from consumers, but of course you can get really quick feedback on the DTC channels as well. I'm sure you're selling through, I don't want to assume you're selling through Amazon, but so many open up that channel as well. I think what you've done really nicely too is, kind of the Instagram side of it as well, with the ambassadors, with, kind of unique photos with the cans. And I think that's a great way just to show your target market enjoying it. I think you've done a nice job with that.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of work, I think, ahead of us. I think a lot of what you've seen so far is testing, and I truly stress it. We're at the starting line now. And I think what you'll see in 2023 is a very, very refined version of what, we've learned up until this point. So I'm excited to share the world.
So let's talk about the mission, because that was something that you really had to work to define. And I think that's really probably come out in a lot of your discovery, meetings with potential investors, because again, you have to filter all the direction you want to go through has to go through the mission. It has to go through the brand. It can't stray from that. So let's talk a little bit about mission as it relates to branding.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And so, as we mentioned, our mission is to inspire people to be resilient like the cactus by creating delicious moments of happiness. And so the cactus is ultimately this ultimate symbol of resilience because it just thrives with, majesticness and positivity in the most challenging climate in the world, the desert. And we love that so much because it's just how humans are, right? The human spirit is always so resilient. It's celebrated in that way, which is incredible. I mean, just look at these last 3 years. I mean, life isn't and never will be easy. But when you ultimately realize that we're all just looking for the same things in life, whether that's happiness, acceptance, comfort, fulfillment, you begin to realize that we're all just way more similar than we are different, which is clearly not the narrative that is always painted in the media, right? And so,
amen. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and coming in this world, and just even on that point, being in CPG, what I love so much about it is because it just really is this intersection of people from all walks of life, right? Blue collar workers, white collar workers, everyone in between, and you're just realizing that again, we're so much more similar than we are different. So as we brought our own values and experiences into the fold, we realized that for Prickly, specifically what it meant to inspire people to be resilient like the cactus meant inspiring people to be happy. Because we live in a social climate now where sometimes it feels like, we don't have permission to be happy. Or that, happiness has over time been sort of boxed into this narrow, specific definition, an aesthetic or a vibe in the last couple of years, especially. And that sentiment actually has, what we've noticed, led to design and branding within the CPG space that often feels and looks the same. It feels very derivative, especially in the better for you product space. So at Prickly, we believe better for you, it's table stakes, right? So the white space opportunity really, in our opinion, is to have fun with our brand and innovation pipeline so that anytime someone consumes one of our products or enters the Prickly universe, they're not just consuming something that's good for them, but they're given this emotional permission to really fully enjoy it as well. And that's why we're trying our best to create these delicious moments of happiness.
I love that, delicious moments of happiness. That is a great line. I think what resonates with me is that you guys have not gone over the top to promote sustainability and all these other good for you components. It's not like you're just slamming your can with benefit. You're taking a slightly different approach. Talk through that a little bit, because clearly the cactus is one of those unique, sustainable, kind of natural, long-term, what do they say? Sustainable crops, right? It takes so little water. It has so many benefits. Why not? I mean, walk us through that decision to not slam the can with all of that and kind of take this different approach.
Yeah, I think that this is
permission approach.
This is such an important question, because I think throughout our journey, that seems to be something that comes up a lot, right? I think when you put on your logical hat and you say, what about this makes a ton of difference? And I mean, everything that we talked about already makes the cactus differentiated, and certainly sustainability does as well, right? I mean, it takes no irrigation to grow, it's drought tolerant, all those things. And I'm sure you've heard some of those things on Shark Tank as well. And it's not to say that we don't educate on that. I think there's a really big difference between leading with sustainability and educating with sustainability. There's nothing, in our opinion, at least, wrong with talking about all the different merits of your product and the hero ingredient and celebrating that, because that message does deserve to get out there, because it is something that I think can drive just a shift in consumer behavior that ultimately does lead to a better overall outcome for our climate, certainly. But at the same time, it's not that it's something that's been authentic to us, and it comes back to authenticity from day one. It's not to say that we don't care about these things. It's just that it would have felt disingenuous for us to lead with that specifically and only, and it would have felt in a way, going back to what we talked about, trying to sell a product as opposed to trying to express a brand.
Oh gosh, I just had my aha moment. There it is.
Yeah.
That wasn't what drew you to it in the first place. It's the benefit. I think that's the beauty of this, is that people are going to discover, oh, I really like it And then there's the plus benefits.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's not to say that another creator, another founder who comes from that route or maybe comes from that experience can't find authenticity and sustainability. But I do think that as consumers are getting more and more educated, that and more of these products are out there, it becomes less of a differentiator, and especially one that's less of a differentiator if it's not something that's authentic to you, right? And so I think that that's something that can sometimes fall into founders can sometimes fall into that trap, right? When we're trying to create brands that just seem like they fit into a checkbox of what consumers and buyers and investors are looking for.
Right. That's what I was saying earlier. The white space. You're just trying to you're just trying to force it in there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, again, I think the white space is really just the kind of space that you can create and find yourself in, again, authentically, because you're not trying then, right? You're not always questioning why you're doing things. You're just going for something that feels right. And I think consumers will, and as long as you stay resilient to maintain that.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
There you go.
And go down that path and minimize the chances of corruption in that. I do think that ultimately consumers will feel that same thing. And ultimately that's what brand is, right? It's that feeling that's evoked emotionally when they interact with your products and your brand as a whole, as opposed to just understanding that this is an ingredient that they're drinking or a product that they're drinking. And, I think most people aren't running around just kind of talking about all these benefits and all these characteristics and sharing that. It's not something it's not something that creates loyalty. It's not something that I think really resonates with humans on a human level. And I think the moment for which that was maybe the primary marketing lever has probably passed, So I think the long-term success of brands are ultimately, again, just full circle built on authenticity.
You've really shared a lot. Just listening to how you went through this process, I really think this has really given a lot of, I think, insight, because what you've really honed in on is the emotional attachment to the product, right? It's hard to be emotionally attached to, say, a sustainability initiative. Right. That's like it should be like the back of the can, something, a small mention, right? Versus a delicious moment of happiness. I mean, that's what you're drawn to.
Unless that is true to you, right? And I think if it is, then all the power to you, and that should be the primary way in which you communicate and then build your brand and product. And certainly that version of Prickly looks very different than this version of Prickly. But to your point, I mean, if it's just something to sort of capitalize on sort of trends and what people are looking for, I just think that ultimately that doesn't set anyone up for success, the brand or the consumers or the buyers in the long term.
Yeah, right. It's not authentic. Well, the reason I kind of couched it in that way is because it's a beverage. People drink beverages because they like the way they taste, and it's a feeling, and you just want to bring that along with you. And I think that's where this fits in so nicely. So you've talked quite a bit about, what's happening in 2023. And what else can we expect from you guys? I guess, you keep saying you're at the starting line. So I guess we're going to see more distribution or, maybe a wider footprint. So what can we expect in 2023?
Well, yeah, we say we're on the starting line because it feels like every step that we're taking now is one of intention. We're walking towards the North Star, right? And that North Star is that we have the vision of really creating the greatest cactus company ever. And so 2023, I think, will tease that there will be some innovation in that space that will indicate that we are more than a beverage company. So more to come on that.
Wait, no one's listening. Go ahead. What is it?
No, that'll come soon enough. But soon enough. But I do think, yes, absolutely, distribution is going to be extremely a big focus of ours. I think that with the macro environment and where we're headed in the next couple of years, I think the two primary focuses for us from a business standpoint, now that we have branding kind of set up in place, is really just top line revenue growth as well as bottom line margin improvement, so we can create a sustainable business right in the long term. So distribution and expansion of our brand is going to be a big focus, but doing it in a way that does feel calculated and smart and again sustainable. And then our mission of creating the greatest cactus company ever will start to be revealed. So that's really, really exciting. I really think that we're going to make some noise in 2023.
And I just keep thinking you've got some unique opportunities for swag. I think there's something about the cactus that I think you could probably come up with some pretty cool plushies and things. I don't know.
Absolutely. We have a lot of stuff coming, a lot of exciting things coming, and there's a lot of challenges that we haven't solved for as well in that. So I still think 2023 will be a lot of growing pains for us too. But with that, I think every time we look back and just take a moment to be appreciative of how far we've come and just appreciate the good times and the journey, we're always just really, really, grateful and also surprised at what we've been able to accomplish. And looking back on all this stuff, it's going to be quite an adventure when it's all said and done.
Well, for people who want to experience the prickly cactus water, what's the best way for them to do that? Website or particular grocery store? If they're a retail, if they're up in the Northeast, what's the best way?
Yeah, easiest way, go to prickly.com or get us off of Amazon.
There you go. Nice and easy. Was there anything, Kun, that you kind of wanted to get out there that I just didn't get around to?
I think you captured everything. I would just say from a founder perspective, it's a really challenging journey for everyone, and I think that at the end of the day, mental health is an extremely important piece of our journey that we should all share more about and support one another through. We do a lot of work with mental health organizations at Prickly in our journey of inspiring resilience as well. So we notice that it's a growing challenge for everyone. And so especially with the journey as difficult as entrepreneurship, it's just a reminder, just take time out of your day to be mindful, to spend time with loved ones, to appreciate the journey and try to bring them along with you. Because at the end of the day, the way that we look at it is, a success where you're standing on a stage and folks are kind of patting you on the back. I mean, that's a pretty lonely journey to end up on. You want to be in the crowd with everyone that's been with you on that journey and celebrate together. So just make sure that you're enjoying that journey as you're building it and not just looking forward to the end.
Well said, Kun. I hope everyone goes out and gives this a try and check the show notes. I'll have a link to the Shark Tank. You did well. You and Mo stood up pretty well to Mr. Wonderful. He came at you with a pretty prickly deal, and I think you were wise to switch it up there and go with that line of credit idea. So kudos for that quick thinking on your part under the bright lights.
Thanks so much, Tony. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having us on the podcast.
Thanks so much.